From Los Angeles and Nashville, get ready to go behind the scenes with Entertainment Dudes. What happens when you pair a director, a voice actor in a world, and some of the most interesting people in entertainment? You're about to find out. I think we're recording.
Yeah, you're not lagging anymore. You look good.
I'm not lagging?
No, you look great. Speaking of looking great, check me out at my entertainmentdudes.com merchandise, which you can get from merch.entertainmentdudes.com. And you can wear a picture of Cam's and my face on your body at all times.
Am I lagging?
What? No, you're not lagging. You're looking good. You look great. And all the proceeds from the Entertainment Dudes merch
go to us,
to me directly. You know, we have absolutely no charities that we donate to, and it's entirely
not
selfish.
At all. No, it goes
spending
to
every dollar you give us on ourselves.
It goes to helping make sure that we have more fun shows, that we can continue to do this.
Yes,
that's our altruistic side. Yes, we can continue to bring you more fun guests.
Yes. And today's particular focus, and since I was focusing on the merch,
on the shirt, on the merch,
yes.
Anytime I didn't wear my Entertainment Dudes merch today.
No, you wore your clown, one.
My voiceover dude.
Yeah, you're. I like that you put a clown on your voiceover.
It's not a clown.
It's a clown, dude. Look at
this. It's a robot. It's a robot.
It's a clown.
It's the headphones and the microphone. It's a robot.
Yes. Well, today we have an exciting guest, and we're really excited to have Laura Brody on the show. She is working on not only just costuming. Hey, hello, Kim. You've got to give the tee up properly.
Okay. Hold on. Let's tee up. Okay, go ahead and tee up.
Okay. So for wardrobe, costume, everything that goes into actual. Cam, dude.
Okay, sorry. Let's try it again.
Stop. So you're gonna give a complex to our guest, and she's literally gonna leave the lobby and never come back.
What does she do?
Works in wardrobing and costuming, styling, everything that goes onto the actor to help tell the story, because costume is so important. It informs who the people are. It gives us impressions of them. Now, Kim, would you please bring our guest into the show?
And I always wanted to find out the origins of wardrobe. Is it true that it was actually from a drobe they used to use in wars?
It was a drone, actually. It was a
war drone, and then it changed over time
into wardrobe.
Wardrobe. Okay.
Actually, it's a point of a little bit of contention in the people in our field. It's costume. We are the costume department. I work as a costume designer, a costumer. Okay. It's not wardrobe. It's a costume.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, our guest is a costumer.
And she does costuming, and there's a difference between wardrobe and costuming. Yes.
So please welcome
our costume designer, Laura Brody.
Okay.
Laura, this is your first time on the show, right? Have you been
the first time on the show? Thank you so much for having me, guys.
She's like first and last time on the show. No, please come back. Don't leave.
Hopefully not last. No, I really appreciate it.
No, we like having you. It's great. I know we've been trying to get you on the show for a while, and you've been crazy busy. So tell us a little bit about, first of all, what you do. Like, what does a costumer do? And what does separate a costumer from wardrobe? Because apparently those things are different. So inform our public.
All right. Well, I am what's referred to as a dual card holder. I'm a member of 2 Hollywood unions. I'm a costume designer in Costume Designers Guild, Local 892. And I'm also a women's finished costumer in the Motion Picture Costumers Local 705. And so those are 2 different jobs of the variety of jobs in the costume department.
Wow. So what's the difference between the 2?
The costume department, the costume designer is the one who designs the look of all the costumes, and they'll work with the director and the producers to create the look, and they work directly with the lead actors, and they give all the design direction to the whole rest of the department. And a costumer would be somebody who takes that direction and does all the legwork.
Okay. Of
like sourcing costumes, like shopping, organizing, fitting. I worked a lot as a background costume fitter, which is how we met. And that's a place where you get the direction from the costume designer, and then you put it into reality on people.
Yeah, it's incredible. I often love like in whenever you're telling a movie or whenever you're making a story, I always say that there's three stories that you create. You create the actual written script, and that's one version of it. And then the secondary is what you actually produce and shoot. And then the third is the edit. So it's essentially three films. In the second process, as a writer, whenever you're creating the characters, you have a very vivid idea of what this character is. Sometimes it's informing the period. So if, for example, for you, you were working on a project recently, we could talk about Obi-Wan, right? Just at least about that you were working on this.
I can say that I worked on it. Yes, I can.
Okay.
I can say that I worked on it. I can tell you what job I did.
Okay, cool. I just think it's very exciting when you take a world like this, which is already known and established, and you're trying to fill in characters and inform, separate those characters from others inside of the same universe with their own personality. When you're designing somebody or you're dressing someone, what kind of things do you take into account as you're making a character, especially for maybe a show like a Star Wars or maybe just another period piece? You did a horror film recently for indie horror film, right?
I did that indie horror film, fairly recently. That was contemporary, so it was really it was called One Bedroom, and it was a contemporary horror movie in Los Angeles, and it was really about making everybody look pretty normal. I don't know if you guys are like Addams Family fans, but there's something, and I think Wednesday. Yeah, when like Wednesday talks about her Halloween costume and she says, "I'm a serial killer," they look like everyone else.
Oh, that's crazy.
That was like the vibe of One Bedroom, is that they just look like everybody else. People, the way to tell the story and create these characters is to make them not stand out and look like the most normal people that you can. And that's kind of what makes it terrifying.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So when you take a main character, let's say you get a script, let's say, how do you begin to approach that process? Like, how do you decide what they're going to wear?
Well, the first thing, I will read the script once with like no notes, no nothing. I just want to read the story and just feel my emotions and go on the ride without really getting too deep into the characters. Then I'll read it a second time to actually do that, to try to feel who the characters are and think a little bit about what would make them distinct or stand out, or how the costumes could create that character. And then I'll go back another time and do more of like a technical read through to try to understand what happens in, like, what are the actions of the script, what are the actions that the person does, and how we want to use the costumes over the course of the time to tell the story or to like move the narrative along, if that's appropriate.
Very cool. I know for me, visually, being a director and cinematographer at times, there's a visual element of storytelling which characters arc and change. And, a lot of times my lighting will change based upon the internal struggles or changes, and, even just the changes in atmosphere, location. Do you consider those things as you're developing the costumes as well, just in terms of informing the character?
Oh my God, 100%. You consider that. Like, you'll get I'll kind of complete my concept of how to do the design, and then we'll come back with all the technical specifications from like what the location looks like, maybe if the time of year has changed, how many other people are in the scene, and how much money you have.
Predominantly how much money you have.
Yeah.
How much money the character has, or how much money the production has
will be reflected as like all the different things that make a person a person. And then you will kind of go from there. But I certainly, I came from working in independent film, and I spent like a few years designing indie movies, mostly kind of like horror and action movies, because that's what I really like. And we had this one indie movie I did. It was called The Fear Chamber, and we had like $35 to make this whole movie. It was ridiculous. And
why so much? Holy cow!
Yeah,
Who's your investor? I'm going to need a name.
Yeah, it was a wild time, and I definitely have some crazy stories from that one that I certainly can tell you. But
why did they even bother giving you any money? I mean, $35 is like one bracelet, and you're like,
and we
budget's
needed like
blown.
multiples of every, in horror movies, everybody gets covered in blood, and you like 5 of the same thing. And so we had like you were saying, you do like a kind of a technical meeting about the costume design with the production designer, because costumes are part of production design. And you need to have a like harmonious, the person in the costume has to be harmonious to the backdrop. Mm-hmm. So we had the production design meeting. I knew where the sets were, what was going to happen in those script days and the scenes. And then, did fittings, got them approved. And you always want to just make sure like there's like some real basic stuff. Like, don't put the shirt the same color as the wall. Like, don't do the shoes the same color as the floor. You want to be able to see the person. And the last minute, all the locations fell through. I'm telling you, every day we showed up to set, it was a different set than I was expecting. And
oh my God.
Wow. Shirt was the same color as the wall. And
lime green, green screen green.
And it was one of those, like, you couldn't make this up. I was like, guys, we don't have any more money. I can't reshop. You won't put any more money on my like P card. So I can't buy you any more clothes anyway. So you're just gonna have to, we're just doing this.
You're gonna have to paint the wall.
I was like, these are puppets. You're gonna like
them. That's incredible. Yeah, I think that
was the one where the gaffer and the second AD got in a fist fight.
An actual that's a good production. I take it.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
No stress there.
No, the stress, there's always stress. You never know where it's going to come from. There's like a very different stress of like making something you have the emotional attachment to, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, and making an indie movie with $35 in a box truck.
Yeah. I mean, you got it. It's amazing. We're always talking about passion, paseo, right. Just it's saying it means to suffer. And there's an element of suffering in the craft, no matter what department you're in, no matter what you're doing, especially it's always limited time, always limited budget. Even for the largest productions ever, there's still elements and pieces where there's time involved. And, so for you, for example, I had an opportunity to just go and get dressed because I was cast as a particular character. And then in the end, that night they called and said, we don't need you anymore, which is like, no, it's terrible. But you see row upon row upon row of clothing to choose from. And I know that the look for me, they came in, you guys just like look up and down, head to toe. Okay, we want to do this. We're going to add these pieces. So that creative process was fascinating to me because you're making so many decisions right on the spot. Like, how do you size up a character? Even just one as insignificant as mine was, but so much care and passion went into it. Like, how do you approach even characters with so much time? Like, you have to crank people out.
Yeah, working as a background costume fitter, you really do have to crank it out, and nobody is insignificant, and everybody is special. And even if you have a short amount of time to spend with them, that time is special and it is important. And whether they make it on screen is frankly irrelevant. It's about doing the process and being present in the process, doing the good work and the interaction that I have with the actor, whether it is, a background actor that's never going on screen or number one on the call sheet. They're equally important. It's just how much time and money that you have. And I have to say, are you guys familiar with what's called like peak flow state?
Nope.
I do a lot of like yoga, meditation, kind of like esoteric studies. And I find that when I have to work at that very high of a speed, I need to get into something that's like called a flow state, where I will look at the person who comes into the room. I'll make sure I actually have their sizes correct. And with COVID, it's so weird. I have to get them to like take their mask off so I can see their face. One of the things I always say is dress to the face. You really have to see, the body, the face, the hair. and the demeanor of a person. And once you can take that moment to kind of absorb the totality of who that person is, and then the process of getting them into the character, I find for myself, it goes better if I don't overthink it. And you know you're gonna go from like point A to point B, and you're gonna have you're gonna get notes, you're gonna have to make changes, but I try to just make it very smoothly. And I'll like it, you said when there's like just racks and racks, I just go out and I start touching things, and something will just pop off the rack to me. And I mean, sometimes I've done these wild kind of like creature character fittings. And sometimes you put like the first three things you put on somebody and you're like, great, this is perfect. Like,
yeah, this is them. It's it.
That's what you're going for. Is this just like easy, like kind of, I am a real minimalist as well. I don't like to do too much. I like to get the right piece and let it speak for itself.
Yeah, that's what's really cool, because I thought mine came together super fast. And then I know it was the boots that was the challenge. I thought that'd be the easy part. It was like, there was literally 10 or 15 pairs. Nope, not that one. It's not that one. It's too high. It's not right. Next. And so much attention into one piece. And the thing is that whenever you're working on production, you as a designer, a costumer, you don't know what's going to end up on camera. And I might decide as a director to do a close-up of this person's boots.
Yeah. You
randomly
have to pay attention to like every single piece of detail, because at any moment you could have like a random shoe close-up of somebody, or you literally will never ever see them at all.
Yeah, and you don't know what's what, and you don't know what level of detail in a show.
You just give everything the same amount of attention, and that's it. But yeah, I will take into account a lot of times the person's coloring and their kind of their body shape and size, to try to at least make them look good into themselves. Unless, of course, they're supposed to look bummy and crummy, and then maybe I will not choose like a color combination that really enhances how they look to start with.
How did you develop your passion for this? I mean, where did all this start? How did you fall into the industry?
I think I love clothes so much. My family are all scientists, but they're very much patrons of the arts, and they love anything that's related to performing arts, culture, entertainment, and fine art. And so that's what they would like to do for fun, and that's what they would take us to do. And so I developed an eye for art and aesthetics really early, but I realized that I just loved clothes so much more, that was like my favorite part of it. And the feeling that I would get to like go to the mall or go to a department store, or go see. And I really think it was actually going to the stores that I would get so excited, and I would be inspired of like, how can I make this for myself? And so I would just find like, I was interested in school. I did fine in school, but I was just so much more interested in fashion and clothes, and like the kind of culture, this kind of like fun, fabulous culture that surrounded it. And I didn't want to do academics. I thought it was boring.
Yeah, I wasn't my strong suit for
that. You say your family's scientists, because there is kind of, I mean, we've been talking about everything that goes into costuming. There is kind of a science to it. So even though you're in the arts, there are scientific things you have to think about, with colors and dimensions, and I mean a lot of things.
It's a very technical work. It's not like, I mean, I do a little bit of like editorial or like red carpet styling, which is almost more like a pure art form. But yeah, filmmaking or anything that's like related to storytelling is very technical, and it's a balance of how to allow your imagination to take it to the place it wants to go, and then bringing it back to reality to make it happen. But yeah, I'm excited about clothes and the whole process of like getting dressed and getting dressed up and doing a performance or going to a place, or like becoming a different character. And that's like my favorite thing to do by myself and with other people. And all that of getting up at 4:00 in the morning is what they pay me for.
Yeah, because that's so painful.
Yeah, that's like, that work stuff. That's what they pay you for. This is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, you get paid to play. That's what I always say. As long as it's there, I get to get paid to do what I absolutely love. And it's funny, even in my time off, they're like, what do you do on your days off? I'm like, this. Like we literally go make fan films, or we go shoot something else just because it's so enjoyable. Now, I know that you mentioned that you also enjoy the musical aspect, and even almost more sometimes that musical styling, creative vibe. For a production, you're dressing the costume for the character, but it's also serving the story. Whenever you're doing wardrobe and costuming for an artist, it's about the costume is to complement and support the artist themselves and the expression that they make. Do you notice that difference, and how do you approach a musician when in terms of trying to help them with some styling for music videos?
Well, I certainly do notice a big difference, and I mostly work with women, and I find that the way that they feel about how they look in clothes, their self-esteem as a performer and their self-worth is really tied up in their appearance and how they look in clothes and how they fit in clothes. And part of my job is not just to present them with a visual look that shows who they are, makes them like, gives them the self-expression, but it's to make them feel really good and make them feel usually strong and confident is how they want to feel when they do their performance, but to make them feel that way, to make the look on the outside match how they feel in the inside, or to even make them feel better than how they think they look by using trickery.
The magic behind your craft. Yeah, I think it's interesting how it also, as an actor, having done some acting and things, it's something like when you have an idea of a character and you're working towards a character, but the moment you get that outfit on and it feels right, like that's when you become the character. When you're on that set and you're in that outfit, something just clicks. And especially when it's right, it's like, yes, this is my character. And I too can feel something's not quite right if it's not. I'm like, I don't know. I wouldn't wear this jacket or something. There's pieces on it. You can feel it.
Oh, absolutely. There is so much of it is about the feeling. And that's why I was saying, like, I need to get myself into this place of where I'm like listening, I'm aware, and I can feel those feelings that it has to be the right character so the actor can make that complete transformation into the character. And there's this like moments of the process that you go through where you're trying to like take your actor over the threshold to embody the character. And then you know that when they're in their dressing room, that is the moment of transformation. And that I have this opportunity and responsibility to get them from here to there.
What are some of the...
It's very special, I have to say.
Yeah.
It's very touching. Like, the last 2 projects that I've worked on are things that I am really emotionally connected to the source material, as are a lot of people. And those moments when you feel that emotion of the person transforming into their character from the clothes is really powerful. It's really satisfying in a way that's not related to the actual like craft of like making a jacket or making a pair of pants or knowing how to set a zipper, which I know how to do all that stuff. It's much more of like a artistic and personal journey.
Yeah, it's incredible that moment when the character ceases to be the actor and you can feel it, and they are now the character.
Yeah.
And you get to watch that. That's like you're one of the first steps of that process. And it's just as those pieces come on, you can see that transition happen. That's so exciting. That's why I don't think there's anything boring in this craft. If you're passionate about construction, if you're passionate about electrical work, engineering, design, story, in film production, there's always something that you can do and it's a rewarding process because you're all working and building towards telling the story. And each, like you already said, Laura, every single part matters. There is no unimportant character, no unimportant person on set, whether you're a PA or whether you're a director, all of it works together to create and tell the story. And if it is done well, then everything that we're doing is actually serving the story. And in my mind, whenever I'm thinking about, and maybe you think about it this way or not, I'm always thinking about who the end user is going to be and what that person is going to feel when they're sitting in there and they're watching this story. What emotion does it elicit to them? And for me, that's always my end focus is who is my audience and what I want them to feel by what I'm doing. Do you have any concept of that as well, that interaction?
I absolutely have a concept of that. And I have to say, like I was saying, the last 2 projects that I worked on, I have emotional attachment to the material. And so I always find the best way for me to be successful, whether I'm designing my own fashion line, which I had for quite a few years, or in doing costumes, is to make it real for me and to try to get that emotional response out of myself. If going through the process, like if I can get myself and my feelings about it, I feel that it will translate to the viewer.
Yep.
What are some of the challenges you run into and regularly, and how do you get past those challenges? Are there tips and tricks and secrets that you use all the time in order to, make what you do just stand out no matter what the circumstances?
I mean, the time money situation is always tough.
Yeah.
That's always a toughie. And some of the other things we run into are people of unusual size.
Okay.
And you just have to, I guess, expect the unexpected. Just make sure to keep something in your back pocket. Something's always going to go wrong. You don't know what it is. So.
Are there quick fixes that you do a lot of times that nobody ever knows or sees?
And how? Tailor. Have a really good tailor. That's
tailor.
The best.
Okay.
Always have just have a good tailor and just have them around all the time.
I got a question. So
I mean, either how the advice that you're looking for, but that's
for people who are directors, filmmakers, and even for aspiring producers and line producers, how can I better budget for wardrobe? What kind of things do I need to take into consideration while I'm working that would enable you to do your job better? I know a lot of times we just come up with a number and say, you have $10,000 to do this.
And I get it. If you have an indie movie, maybe you only have $10,000 and that's all you got. But I think being willing to have a conversation with your costume supervisor or your costume designer about how much money they really need. We all have budgeting software. We usually use something that's either called Costume Plot Pro from the old days or a Sync on Set, where we can actually give you a line item budget from the whole script breakdown and to get a sense of, to actually take the time to sit down with your costume department and ask them what they need and be realistic about it and look at the breakdown and say, you know what, I don't think we can get the look that we want if we can't budget this much. Do we need can we reallocate more money to you guys from a different department? Can we pull the script back to make it so you can have more money, so you can use this money better or whatever? But I think it's just chronic underestimating of how many people and how many labor hours it takes to properly costume a project and how much work there is on the front end and prep, how much during the shoot there's work on the front and back end of the day, and then how much work there is in wrap. I just think it's not well known how for a lot of people that it just takes a lot more time.
Stick around for part 2 next week. But for now, like and subscribe. And oh yeah, don't forget to watch another video right here.